Week 12 of the fantasy football season. Here's the top 12 defense DST units. I'm ranking this week number 1, the San Francisco 49ers. So this Niner defense, they're getting healthy. They're going out there making plays. And this week here, Andy Dalton, he's going to be running for his life in this one just to stay afloat and not take a lot of big hits. So this Niner defense at home, they've been a great unit at home this season. They're playing great football, and they're definitely a team that's a Super Bowl contender this season in San Francisco. So right now with a loaded offense and a defense now that has an easy opportunity playing with a lead here. I think this week, once again, they'll be playing with a lead. They'll be getting to Andy Dalton early and often, a few turnovers in this ball game because that offensive line over there with this Saint team isn't that good. And this week here, I think the 49ers have a great ball game. And I got them in one. Number 2, the Buffalo Bills. So the Bill defense, they've been a little leaky over the last few weeks here. We saw Minnesota come back with a huge victory, and we didn't see them have a monster ball game versus a weak New York Jet offense a few weeks ago. But right here, they got a great matchup at the Detroit Lions, is this Buffalo Bill team. Last week, their defense as well versus the Cleveland Browns. In a lot of garbage time, though, the Browns got some points on the board. But right here, Jared Goff really has been putting numbers over the last few weeks. DeAndre Swift definitely hasn't been 100% this season. And Jamal Williams, yes, he's got 12 touchdowns on the season, but pretty much all goal line stoppers. So right here, not many weapons on this Detroit Lion offense besides Amon St. Brown, who could be a big threat. So this Bill team, they've been in Detroit all week after playing last week's ball game in Detroit because of the snowstorms. And this week, yeah, I think they're going to be comfortable. I think they're going to be well rested. And I think they would put in a top 2 performance at number 2. Number 3, the Kansas City Chiefs. So the Chiefs defense last week, I know they gave up over 20 points in that ball game to the Los Angeles Chargers. I finished with 9 fantasy points. And this one here versus a Los Angeles Ram team where it looks like it's either going to be Bryce Perkins starting or John Wolford if Matt Stafford's back in concussion protocol. They're going to tee off on him. This ball game's in Arrowhead, which obviously always gives them the advantage. One of the loudest stadiums in all pro football. And this defense here, when they need to make plays, they have this season to close games out or get a big sack at the quarterback. So this week here, I think this Chief defense has a big ball game, and I got them in number 3 versus a Ram team with a lot of young players and a lot of backups and no Cooper Kupp. Obviously, where a lot of people thought this could have been a Super Bowl preview, it's far from that. This week, number 4, the Dallas Cowboys. So this Cowboy defense, they had a couple hiccups, Chicago Bears, and then week 10 versus the Green Bay Packers. But week 11, they blew the doors off one of the best offenses in all pro football with the Minnesota Vikings, holding them to 3 points and just making Kirk Cousins look like a crash test dummy in that ball game, taking 5 sacks. So this week here, Daniel Jones and this giant offensive line has a big task of stopping Mike Parsons, Brandon Williams, and DeMarcus Lawrence. All these guys getting to the quarterback. Cowboy team, Thanksgiving Day. Obviously, each and every season they're playing home games and Thanksgiving. Crowd's going to be amped up, and it's a big division ball game. So this defense here, after getting embarrassed from the Packers a few weeks ago, blowing a 28-14 lead, they got back on their stuff last week versus the Minnesota Vikings. And this week here versus the Giants in a division game, you would think they would show up, but we'll see what happens. But anyway, minimum, I think they'll get 4 or 5 sacks on Daniel Jones. And they're a team that, when they get to the quarterback, they start to take over ball games and put up fantasy points. Number 5, the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins here, no doubt about it, the defense hasn't been great this season on the defensive end. But this week, a great matchup versus the Houston Texans that pretty much can't move the ball. We don't know for sure if Davis Mills is going to be the starter or not, time of recording this video, but either way, it don't matter who the starting quarterback's going to be. Bradley Chubb was a big acquisition at the NFL trade deadline for this Miami Dolphin team, and this week here, I think they're going to buckle down this defense. They got a great matchup. Brandon Cooks hasn't been good. Nico Collins inconsistent. The only guy I really would worry about in this ball game is stopping is Damian Pierce, and if the Dolphins can make them one-dimensional, and obviously I think Houston's going to have to play catch-up in this one. This is where the defense could tee off and make some plays. So I got them at 5. Number 6, the Denver Broncos. So the Broncos here, not a lot of bright spots in a horrible season for this Bronco team, but the defense for the most part has been a bright spot, even though last week lapsed at defense in that one for the Bronco team, losing to the Las Vegas Raiders in overtime after Devontae Adams got wide open to win the ball game in overtime. But right here, good matchup with the Carolina Panthers. Sam Darnold is going to be the starting quarterback for this Panther team. And this Bronco defense, I think, is going to make plays in this one early and often. We don't know what Sam Darnold's going to do this week. He hasn't played all season, coming off an injury. And this offensive line over there in Carolina really can't do much this week with a good matchup at the Panthers. I got them at 6. Number 7, the Philadelphia Eagles. So a lot of people might wonder why I got the Eagles down on the list here. Just these other teams have better matchups. And this Green Bay Packer offense, I know Aaron Rodgers hasn't putting up the numbers you expect this season here after coming off an MVP season. But right now, the Packer offense is still putting points on the board. Christian Watson, he's emerged as the number one guy, it seems like, over there with 5 touchdowns in the last 2 ball games. Allen Lazard's a decent receiver, and you still got one of the better running backs in the backfield than Aaron Jones. I know it's a game in Philadelphia, this one, but I think Aaron Rodgers and this Packer team's not just going to lay down in this game. And we've even saw last week the Colts were running the football effectively versus the Eagles. So right here, this Eagle team still one of the better units in all fantasy football. But this week, there's a matchup number 7, number 8, the Baltimore Ravens. So the Ravens defense over the last few weeks have come into this zone. And this week here, pretty decent matchup at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Even though last week I expected a little bit more out of them with the Carolina Panthers coming to town. The Ravens here, I think, put in a top 10 performance at number 8. This Jaguar offense, it hasn't been horrible. They got some bright spots. Obviously, Travis Etienne, a great season he's having, and they had confidence to trade James Robinson away to the New York Jets. So Etienne's taking the backfield by storm. And also Christian Kirk in his first season here with the Jaguars has played good football. But I think this Raven team will make a few plays in this one. It's a good matchup for them, no doubt about it. And I got them at 8. Number 9, the New York Jets. So right here, the Jets, I was going to list a little bit higher on this page here. But I don't know if Justin Fields is going to play or not. Obviously, if Justin Fields plays in this game, the Jets take a little bit of bump down because he's a quarterback that can make plays with his feet. And he's a quarterback that I think could exploit this Jet defense just a little bit this week here, because we know he's a great athlete, and we even seen him clown some good defenses like the Dallas Cowboys and the New England Patriots in previous weeks. So right here, if Justin Fields plays, I still think the Jets have a decent ball game. But Fields is going to get his, and he's going to get some points on the board with Chicago. That's just how it's been for him. So this week, this Jet defense, if Fields don't play, is a top 3, top 5 unit. But if he does play, got them in number 9, number 10, the New England Patriots. So the Patriots defense, one of the best units once again this season. The last week, another double-digit fantasy game, over 15 fantasy points, and beating the New York Jets on a punt return before regulation running out. But this week here, tough matchup in Minnesota. I know the Minnesota Vikings got destroyed 40-3 by the Dallas Cowboys. But this week here, I think Minnesota is going to have a pulse in this one. Thanksgiving night, nationally televised game, obviously. And this Patriot defense, they don't got as vicious as a pass rush as the Dallas Cowboys did versus Kirk Cousins and that offensive line. So right here, I think the game plan is going to change here for this Minnesota Viking team, where they're going to come out aggressive and even start with a hurry-up offense, in my opinion. So right here, the Patriots still a great unit, still a unit I would start this week. But I'm not going to have high expectations for this Minnesota offense to have 2 horrible weeks in a row. So I got them at 10. Number 11, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So the Bucs, pretty decent matchup with the Cleveland Browns. Even though this Buc defense really hasn't delivered some big ball games this season in fantasy football. But coming off the bye week and a good matchup with the Cleveland Browns, I think they could get a few plays on Jacoby Brissett. Even though Brissett has been a pretty serviceable quarterback and putting up numbers some weeks. And they got Nick Chubb, who's one of the best running backs in pro football. But right here this week, I think the Bucs, I'm going to limit the expectations a little bit. This ball game's in the dog pound, and I think time of possession is going to be the thing here that the Browns are going to try to play on. Run the football a lot with Chubb and Hunt, and make Brissett make the throws when he needs to. But anyway, this Buc team, I got number 11. This week here, just a lot of good defensive units with good matchups and playing good football. And this Buc team on most weeks will be higher, but this week, like I said, a lot of good matchups, and defenses this season have been playing good football. In the 12th and final defense I'm ranking this week here is the Minnesota Vikings. I know last week Cowboys put up 40 points versus this Viking team, but this week, yeah, this New England Patriot team is not even close to the weapons and type of play of this Dallas Cowboy team. Right here, I know Ramondre Stevenson's a good running back, no doubt about it, but I believe they got to give him more touches is New England. And Mac Jones, he's a game manager. New England's been winning games on defense and running the football. So pretty much Jacoby Myers, he's a decent ball player as well, who I like. But I think this Viking team and this Patriot team, this game's going to be low scoring for the most part. Mid-teens, low 20s in this one. So right now, Minnesota, even coming off a bad game last week versus a high-powered offense like the Cowboys, I think this week here, they play a decent ball game. And I got them at 12, so that's the top 12 defense DST units I'm ranking here for week 12 of the fantasy football season.